Where did you get that scar? The billionaire's voice cuts through the elegant chatter. Conversations halt. Classes freeze midair. Maxine Waters, 25, dark-skinned waitress in a borrowed uniform, looks up at Alexander Blackwood. A real estate mogul worth billions. I don't remember. Sir. Her voice is barely a whisper. It's the Plaza Hotel's charity gala, $10,000 a plate. The city's elite talk tax breaks while the homeless freeze outside. Maxine moves quietly between tables. Invisible help carrying champagne worth more than her rent. But now she's suddenly the center of attention. The crescent-shaped scar on her wrist gleams under the chandelier light. Alexander's steel-gray eyes fix on her. That mark, identical to his missing daughter's, the one who vanished 20 years ago. That's impossible, he mutters. She's dead. Yet Maxine stands before him very much alive. His words echo in her head as she walks through Queens that night, sneakers worn thin. She's dead. The phrase loops endlessly. Who was dead, and why did he look at her like he'd seen a ghost? Her small apartment tells a story of survival. Photos from foster homes line a crooked shelf. None show her before age 5, the year they found her wandering near J Street Station, clutching a torn teddy bear, whispering fragments about Daddy's garden. The system named her Maxine, the greatest, because she couldn't remember her real name. 20 years later, she's still fighting to grow through the cracks. Day shifts at Murphy's Diner, night classes at Hunter College, weekend catering gigs for those who barely notice her face. Just surviving, like thousands of other forgotten black women in New York. But tonight feels different. That billionaire's reaction wasn't random. She opens her laptop and searches Alexander Blackwood. Headlines appear. Real estate titan, blamed for gentrification. Billionaire still mourns missing daughter, 20 years later. Her breath stops when she sees the photo. A little girl with bright eyes and a crescent scar on her wrist. Lily Blackwood, missing since September 15, 2003. Maxine was found October 12, 2003. The dates align perfectly. No, she whispers, scrolling through more details. The age, the scar, the timeline, that all match. These aren't coincidences. Could she be Lily Blackwood? From under her bed, she pulls out a shoebox filled with foster records. 20 years of paperwork she's never believed. Now, it feels like evidence, Mrs. Patterson. Her old caseworker lives in Brooklyn, retired now. Maxine dials her number. Hello? Comes the tired voice. Mrs. Patterson. It's Maxine. From the system. A pause. Child, it's midnight. What's wrong? I need to know where I really came from. Another pause. Some doors shouldn't be opened, honey. But meet me tomorrow. Prospect Park noon. And Maxine, be careful who you trust. The call ends. That night, Maxine studies Lily's photo. Same jawline, same eyes, same tilt of the head. If she truly is Lily, why doesn't she remember? Rich kids don't just vanish into foster care. Someone took her and then erased her. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Stop digging or join the others who got too close. Her blood runs cold. She checks the locks and pulls the curtains tight. Sleep never comes. Morning brings gray skies and dread. Prospect Park lies quiet except for pigeons and joggers. Mrs. Patterson waits on a bench, feeding birds. You always were too curious, she says. Tell me the truth. Hands trembling, Mrs. Patterson opens a manila envelope. I kept copies. Illegal, but I knew this day would come. She slides papers across. Intake reports, police notes, medical files. Found wandering. Severe trauma. Selective amnesia. No ID. Then comes a small photo. A garden filled with roses and a fountain. Written on the back in childish handwriting. Daddy's garden. Maxine's breath catches. She's dreamed of that place for years. There's more, Mrs. Patterson says quietly. Detective Isabella Rodriguez, the officer who found you. She never bought the official story. Said there was government interference. What kind of interference? The kind that buries truth, transfers witnesses, loses evidence, erases records. Mrs. Patterson stands. If you really are that missing girl, powerful people want you gone. She presses a business card into Maxine's hand. Detective Rodriguez. But call her from a burner phone. As the old woman disappears into the park crowd, Maxine realizes the search for her past may cost her life. but some truths are worth dying for. 3 days later, the burner phone buzzes. Detective Rodriguez agrees to meet at Café Luna, where stories are told over bitter coffee. Rodriguez looks worn but sharp, mid-40s, eyes that miss nothing. She studies Maxine silently before saying, "You have her bone structure. The same stubborn chin. I've waited 20 years for this call. You think I'm her, Lily Blackwood?" "I know you are," Rodriguez replies, "but proving it is another matter." The detective spreads a worn file across the table, photos, statements, reports from September 2003. Lily disappeared during her birthday party. 50 guests, yet no one saw a thing. "Except one," Rodriguez says. "David Miller. Who's he?" "Groundskeeper, handyman, last person to see Lily alive." She lays out his mugshot, a man hardened by vice, eyes cold and distant. His story changed 3 times. First, she was playing alone. Then with other kids. Finally, he said he never saw her. Rodriguez leans in. "I think he knows exactly what happened." Maxine studies photos of the Blackwood estate. Grand gardens, ornate fountains, blooming roses, the same scene from her dreams. "Where's Miller now?" Rodriguez slides bank records across. That's the twist. 2 months before Lily vanished, the accountant found irregularities. Someone was stealing money, small amounts consistently. Invoices inflated, fake receipts, forged signatures. All roads led to Miller. Alexander was preparing to confront him the week Lily disappeared. Maxine pieces it together. A desperate man, caught stealing, needing a distraction. But why wasn't he investigated harder? "Because," Rodriguez says bitterly, "the FBI took over. Claimed interstate kidnapping. My case was shut down." She produces government papers marked with official seals. Her transfer orders, ending her access to the case that haunted her for decades. "That's unusual, unprecedented," Rodriguez mutters, scanning the old case file. Local disappearances stay local unless there's solid evidence of someone crossing state lines. Someone made calls. Serious pressure. She opens a folder she's been piecing together for 2 decades and points to the timeline. September 14th. The accountant reports missing funds. September 15th. Lily disappears. September 18th. The FBI takes over. September 22nd. Rodriguez is reassigned to the device division. "They covered it up," she says flatly. "They tried, but I kept copies of everything." Rodriguez taps the file showing David Miller's last known address before he vanished. He's alive. Or was as of last month, living in Tampa, Florida under a new name. Daniel Morrison. Works maintenance at Sunset Manor Retirement Community. The words hit Maxine Waters like a surge of cold air. 20 years later, the man connected to her stolen childhood is quietly trimming hedges for retirees, free, while she spent years fighting to survive. "We need proof first," Rodriguez continues. "DNA confirmation. We verify you're Lily before confronting him." "How do we do that?" Maxine asks. Rodriguez produces a set of sealed evidence bags. Lily's hairbrush, her childhood clothes, enough genetic material for comparison. She slides a business card across the table. "Dr. Sarah Kim, forensic geneticist. She owes me a few favors." Dr. Kim's lab sits in a renovated warehouse in Queens. Sterile white walls and silent machines designed to uncover truth through genetic code. As they wait for results, Rodriguez reveals more of the puzzle. Miller didn't act alone, she explains. Moving a kidnapped child from a wealthy family takes connections, safe houses, forged documents, and officials willing to look away. She unfolds a large network chart, lines of red string linking names across decades. Social workers, judges, placement officers, all tied to suspicious adoptions and missing children. "You think it's organized?" Maxine asks quietly. "I know it is," Rodriguez replies. Miller was just a pawn. Someone higher up planned Lily's disappearance. 3 days later, the call comes. Dr. Kim's voice is steady but carries weight. Results are conclusive. A 99.7% DNA match. Maxine Waters is, without question, Lily Blackwood. The confirmation feels unreal. 20 years of uncertainty, answered in a single phone call. That kind of disappearance is rare, unprecedented. Usually local missing person cases stay local, unless there's clear evidence of crossing state lines. Someone made calls, exerted pressure. Maxine Waters spreads a timeline she reconstructed over decades. September 14th, accountant spots theft. September 15th, Lily disappears. September 18th, FBI takes over. September 22nd, Waters is reassigned. They tried to cover it up. I kept copies, she says, tapping the folder, including David Miller's last known address. He's alive. Last month, David Miller, alias Daniel Morrison, was working maintenance at Sunset Manor Retirement Community in Tampa, Florida. The revelation hits Maxine like a jolt. The man who ruined Lily's life has been living freely while she suffered in foster care. We need DNA first. Waters continues. Confirm you're really Lily before confronting Miller. She shows evidence bags, a hairbrush, clothes from her childhood. Enough material for genetic testing. She hands over a card. Dr. Sarah Kim, forensic geneticist, owes her favors. Kim's lab in Queens is sterile, machines humming as they read genetic truth. While waiting, Waters lays out more. Miller wasn't alone. Kidnapping a wealthy child requires networks, safe houses, forged documents, corrupt officials. She shows a chart, decades in the making. Names linked by red lines. Social workers, judges, placement officers, all tied to suspicious adoptions. Organized network? Absolutely. Miller was just muscle. Someone far bigger orchestrated Lily's disappearance. 3 days later, Dr. Kim calls. 99.7% match. Maxine Waters hears it clearly. Zara Johnson is indeed Lily Blackwood. 20 years of uncertainty resolved in a single call. They crawl through the dusty tunnel as chaos explodes above. Rodriguez's police instincts kick in. She counts muzzle flashes, estimates shooter positions, and plans their exit. Heavy boots pound behind them across the maintenance office floor. Why are you helping us? Maxine Waters gasps, scraping her knees along the concrete. I've been running from these people for 20 years, Miller pants. Maybe it's time to stop. The tunnel stretches through the building's foundation, pipes dripping overhead, electrical conduits snaking along grimy walls. Shouts, radio chatter, methodical searches echo behind them. The tunnel opens into a drainage canal. They emerge soaked and muddy. Sirens wail in the distance, but Rodriguez knows they aren't rescue crews. My car, she whispers, pointing to their rental. They sprint across open ground as gunfire cracks behind them. Muzzle flashes illuminate windows. Sterling's team realizes their targets have escaped. The engine roars to life as black SUVs screech around the building. Drive, Miller shouts. Rodriguez floors it onto Highway 75, weaving through traffic. 3 SUVs pursue with military precision. The speedometer climbs past 90. Rodriguez realizes they aren't chasing, they're herding. Toward isolation, toward a trap. Miller checks his phone. Dozens of missed calls from unknown numbers. Richmond Sterling doesn't leave witnesses. Maxine grabs Miller's arm. Tell us everything. As they race through rural Florida, Miller reveals the shocking scope of the conspiracy. Rosa's trafficking network wasn't only illegal adoptions. It sold children to elite buyers worldwide. Babies for infertile couples, young kids for labor camps, teenagers for worse. Hundreds over 30 years. Rosa documented everything. Names, buyers, prices. Some children sold for $50,000, others for $500,000 depending on age and appearance. The SUVs close in. Rodriguez spots a highway construction zone. Concrete barriers, heavy machinery, limited visibility. An ideal ambush. Hold on, she yells, yanking the wheel to jump the median into oncoming traffic. Horns blare, they weave through 18-wheelers. The pursuit vehicles follow but lose ground in the chaos. Miller points ahead. Truck stop. Public, witnesses, cameras. They screech into the lot just as the fuel gauge hits empty. Rodriguez parks between semis, shielding them, but her phone shows no signal. Professional jamming. Miller pulls a worn photograph from his wallet. 2 children playing in a garden. Maxine Waters and another girl, identical features, gray eyes, crescent scars. Who's the other child? Maxine demands. Miller's hands shake. Your twin sister, Emma. Maxine stares at the photo. 2 mirror image 5-year-olds in the same garden, living the childhood she cannot remember. That's impossible. I would remember. Rosa separated you immediately, Miller says. Standard practice for multiple children. Harder to trace, better profit. Alexander never knew he had twins. Birth records were falsified. Emma has lived a lie for 20 years like Maxine. Where is she? Maxine asks. I don't know. Rosa placed her with a different network. International. Probably Europe or Asia. Miller produces birth medical records. The twins weren't just Alexander Blackwood's daughters. They were central to a massive inheritance fraud. Alexander's wife was infertile. The pregnancy fake, Maxine and Emma purchased via surrogate, presented as heirs. If anyone discovered this, Miller whispers, they'd lose everything. Rodriguez adds, the Blackwood fortune wasn't just real estate, it was built on lies. Maxine's existence threatens decades of fraud. That's why Sterling ordered the kidnapping. Not for profit, but to protect wealthy clients. The children weren't products, they were evidence. Who was our real mother? Maxine asks. Miller shakes his head. Rosa never told me. Sterling made sure she couldn't. Car accident in 2004. Right after you disappeared. Through the truck stop windows, they spot 6 tactical men regrouping, armed and communicating. We need proof, Rodriguez says. Miller produces a flash drive. Rosa's backup files, every transaction, placement buyer for 30 years. Why do you have it? Maxine asks. Insurance, Miller replies. Rosa gave it to me before she died. She wanted you to know the truth about your sister. Rodriguez plugs the drive into her laptop. Files cascade. Financial records, placement documents, buyer profiles. The evidence to destroy Sterling's empire and free hundreds of stolen children. But then the blood runs cold. Emma's placement record shows she was sold to Victoria Sterling, Richmond's wife. Emma has lived with the conspiracy's leader for 20 years, raised as his daughter while Maxine suffered in foster care. That's why they can't let you live, Miller realizes. Emma doesn't know she's stolen. Discovering the truth would make her rebel. The tactical team moves in. Rodriguez whispers, back exit behind the kitchen. They slip through just as the assault team breaches the front, but more armed men close in. Miller breathes, salvation appears. Alexander Blackwood steps from a black limousine flanked by his security team. His steel-gray eyes lock on Maxine, 20 years of grief turning to fury. Helicopters thunder overhead. Tactical teams close in. Saving Emma might cost Maxine the father she just found, but some bonds are worth dying for. Let them go, Alexander commands Sterling's men. His voice carries authority. The tactical leader hesitates. Sterling's voice comes through an earpiece. Neutralize. I don't care about orders. That's my daughter, Alexander says. His security team fans out, weapons drawn. 20 years of searching lead to this moment. No one takes Maxine Waters from him again. The standoff stretches taut like piano wire. Alexander's private contractors versus Sterling's government-trained operatives. Father versus the conspiracy that stole his child. Truck drivers scatter as the lot becomes a battlefield. How did you find us? Rodriguez asks, ducking behind the rental car. Alexander shows a tracking device under the car. I've monitored every investigation into Lily's disappearance for 20 years. NSA contacts, CIA favors, FBI surveillance. When you accessed old case files, alerts triggered across 3 federal agencies. You know about the conspiracy? Maxine asks. I suspected corporate espionage, patterns of missing children from wealthy families, private agencies with government ties, interference in law enforcement. But seeing you, no doubt. You're my daughter. You have your mother's eyes. The reunion is interrupted. Rodriguez's phone buzzes. Message reads, Dad, they're moving Emma tonight. Private jet to Prague. Come alone if you want both daughters. R.S. Sterling has Emma, using her as bait to lure them into a 20-year-old trap. Alexander's face goes ashen. Miller shows the photograph of the twins, creased and worn. Emma doesn't know she's stolen. Sterling's wife raised her as their own. While Alexander mourned one daughter, another grew up calling his enemy daddy. 2 halves of his heart split between grief and lies. We need to expose everything, Maxine Waters says, opening her laptop. Mia, Law Enforcement Congress, we must make this public before Sterling disappears with Emma. Her fingers move quickly across the keyboard, uploading Rosa's files to secure servers. 30 years of child trafficking, political corruption and systematic abuse spread across digital networks. Financial records show payments totaling hundreds of millions. Client lists include prominent figures in American politics. Medical documents detail memory suppression techniques used on trafficked children. Each file strengthens the case against Sterling, if the truth reaches the right people. Within minutes, Maxine's phone rings nonstop. CNN, Washington Post, 60 Minutes. All major outlets demand verification. This is Rebecca Martinez, CNN Investigative Unit. We're reviewing files showing systematic child trafficking by a D.C. law firm. Can you confirm? Maxine replies every word. Witnesses are ready to testify. Sterling's response is immediate and ruthless. News outlets across the nation receive cease and desist orders backed by federal injunctions. Social media platforms crash when users try to share the files. Government databases go offline for maintenance. Alexander watches as news sites vanish one by one. Judges, politicians, media executives. Sterling has compromised them all. Miller shows Maxine the client list on the flash drive. Names that make headlines. Faces gracing magazine covers. A shadow network of officials whose careers depend on keeping Sterling's secrets. Maxine reads aloud. Senator Patricia Williams adopted 3 children through private agencies linked to Rosa Miller between 2005 and 2012. Judge Harold Morrison, 2 adoptions from Sterling's agencies, both children from families investigating government corruption. FBI Director Thomas Washington, his daughter purchased from Rosa in 2008 after her biological father exposed defense contractor fraud. The list continues, revealing a shadow government of compromised officials. No wonder the original investigation was shut down. Sterling didn't just traffic children. He strategically placed them to control and blackmail powerful figures. Alexander's security chief approaches. Sir, federal communications show the Justice Department preparing arrest warrants for everyone involved today. For what charges? Alexander asks. Terrorism, kidnapping, conspiracy against the United States. Sterling's people claim you run a child trafficking ring to discredit legitimate adoption agencies. Sterling's tactic is audacious. Turn victims into perpetrators, discredit evidence, silence testimony. But Maxine is prepared. She produces a second flash drive. Not Rosa's files, my own 20-year investigation, she says. Every off-the-record lead, every unofficial witness statement, every ignored piece of evidence is there. Patterns emerge across hundreds of missing children cases over 3 decades. Financial connections tie Sterling's law firm to placement agencies in 12 states. Medical records show trauma consistent with memory suppression. Maxine decides to release the files globally. International media, foreign governments, social platforms Sterling cannot control. Alexander uses corporate contacts to reach London, Tokyo, Sydney. Maxine contacts Interpol in Europe. Miller alerts whistleblower organizations. Within hours, the story explodes worldwide. Sterling's conspiracy dominates headlines from BBC to Al Jazeera. International authorities start investigations. Protests erupt outside Sterling's DC offices. Parents march on Capitol Hill demanding answers. But Sterling's final move unfolds. Alexander receives a video call from an unknown number. Inside a private jet, luxury seats, marble interiors, Emma Blackwood sits with Richmond Sterling. She mirrors Zara in appearance, polished by 20 years of privilege. Calling Sterling Daddy, Sterling addresses Alexander. I thought you'd like to meet your other daughter before I permanently relocate her, Emma asks, confused. Daddy, who is this man? Why does he say I'm his daughter? Her genuine trust cuts deeper than any threat. 20 years of conditioning, and Sterling has built a life of lies around her. Alexander tries to explain, but Emma repeats the accusation she's been programmed to believe. With 30 minutes before takeoff, the plane is Sterling's deadline. Emma holds the key to exposing the entire conspiracy. Maxine calls out, Emma, look at your left wrist. Emma sees the crescent-shaped scar, partially hidden by a bracelet. Maxine shows her own identical scar. We got them the same day in the same accident. We're twins. Emma hesitates. That's ridiculous, she says, less certain. Sterling tries to intervene, but Emma pauses, noticing the identical mark and hearing Maxine's words. Maxine continues. Do you remember anything before you were 5? A garden, a fountain, lullabies? Emma's hand touches the necklace her mother gave her. Maxine reads the inscription from Rosa's documents. 2 hearts, 1 soul. Emma's memory begins to stir. Alexander's voice adds clarity. I sang you to sleep every night until you were 5. Your favorite song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, you always asked for the verse about bluebirds. Emma's composure breaks. Memories return. A loving father, a safe home, a life before Sterling. She sobs, No, that's not possible. Daddy saved me. You threw me away. Sterling realizes his control is slipping. Emma demands answers about the scar and her dreams. His calm facade cracks. You were merchandise, high-value merchandise. Everything else was a lie. Emma rises, no longer compliant, seizing her own strength. Sterling draws a pistol, but she disarms him with the skills she's learned over 20 years. Alexander's team breaches the jet. Emma collapses into her father's arms. She whispers, "I remembered. The garden, the songs, your voice reading bedtime stories. I remembered everything." FBI agents arrest Sterling and his associates. Maxine arrives with Miller and Zara, completing the reunion. Alexander holds both daughters, seeing their identical faces for the first time since age 5. Scars remain, but joy prevails. Maxine reminds them, "We must move fast." Sterling's network is still operational, but the moment belongs to the family. Sterling's empire collapses, protected by no one. 2 years later, the Blackwood Foundation thrives. From Florida to Manhattan, recovered children's photos cover the walls. 847 recoveries since Sterling's network fell. Zara and Emma, once separated by trauma, move in synchrony, sharing jokes and experiences. Therapy helps them process privilege, loss, and guilt. Alexander, older but lighter, prepares for congressional hearings. Sterling is dead, but his network's exposure triggers the largest American government corruption investigation. 47 officials indicted, Supreme Court scandals, and new child protection legislation passed. Emma testifies first. "Sterling used manufactured trauma to control every aspect of my life. But truth is stronger than lies, and love is stronger than fear." Zara follows, detailing foster care abuse and systemic failures, inspiring nationwide reform. Media coverage highlights the Blackwood Foundation's work, reuniting families worldwide. Miller, granted clemency for testimony, ensures remaining children are returned safely. In the Blackwood Gardens, Alexander watches his daughters, now grown, flourish. Love endures, strengthened by trials and truth. The foundation expands globally, offering hope to children in 30 countries. Maxine Waters' role in exposing the conspiracy demonstrates that courage, persistence, and justice can prevail, even against decades of corruption. Family bonds survive distance, time, and deception. Love grows stronger, and truth ultimately prevails.